Namaskar, sir. Sir, your camera is off. जस्सी साहब कैमरा ऑन कर लीजिए. सर स्विच ऑन द कैमरा जस्सी साहब. बाला सर नमस्कार. Thank you so much for joining. Insurance is a very important sector, sir. You've been kind enough, despite your travel from Delhi, from Kochi to Delhi today. The flight is about to start. Professor Bijan Mishra wants to say hello to you. Professor Bijan Mishra, Vimal Vaklu, old friend. Former Chief Justice of India, Justice
Good afternoon to everybody.
He is also the
Good
chairman of the
afternoon
jury
to
of the awards.
everybody.
They are going to be constituted on the 28th of June for the India Insurance Awareness Day. Justice KG Balakrishnan, sir, your 2 minutes. Your views on insurance. We cannot keep you waiting for the other participants to join. In the meantime, your flight will start. So kindly take us through your views on insurance as an investment. India as a nation needs insurance. Very, very undercovered nation. Justice KG Balakrishnan, former CJI. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You have lost him.
No, I think he's just left because there is some issue with the flight actually. Okay, we've got Mr. S.K.
He looks
Sethi.
to be on a flight.
Vision India Forum 2047 series welcomes Professor Bijan Mishra, Vimal Vaklu, Rajat Bajaj, Gaurav Chaudhary, Dr. Anamika Vadhera, Girish Karla, S.K. Sethi.
Yes.
S.K. Sethi is a very famous businessman dealing in the insurance sector. Dr. Anamika Vadhera, people have to introduce themselves fast. Rajat Bajaj, could you please switch on the cameras? Otherwise, difficult to carry on, please. Switch on the cameras, please. Mr. Bajaj, Mr. Sethi, Mr. Chaudhary, switch on the cameras, please.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
I have put on.
It is our namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar, sir. You can hear me?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Bijan Mishra ji, Professor Bijan Mishra, thank you for joining. Vimal Vaklu, former chairman of TCIL, Government of India Mini Ratna Company. The reason he is here is he would take us through the nitty-gritties of insurance when it comes to management of a public sector unit, that to a Mini Ratna. Now, Mr. Bajaj, your introduction, please, sir.
Yes, thank you. My name is Rajat. I am Chief Compliance Officer of Tata AIA Life Insurance, representing here life insurance industry, and happy to be part of this August.
Welcome, Rajat. Thank you so much for joining. Dr. Rajesh, introduction, please, sir. Dr. Rajesh, could you introduce yourself, sir? Okay, Sethi ji, could you introduce yourself, sir? S.K. Sethi.
I'm S.K. Sethi. I'm director of Via Insurance.
Sethi Saab, I think, yeah, fine now. We have to close that one,
Yes.
the link. Yeah, now it's okay.
Sorry, sir. I'm S.K. Sethi. I'm director of Ria Insurance Brokers Private Limited. And I'm also the founder and chief executive officer of Insurance Foundation of India, which is a not-for-profit organization, 100% focused on insurance. And we work in the area of in awareness.
Carry on.
Skill development, training programs, seminars, webinars, and all.
Thank you. Anamika Vadhera, Dr. Anamika Vadhera, please introduce yourself.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Anamika. I'm working as a director at Consumer Online Foundation. So I'm working with Professor Bijan Mishra.
Okay. Opening remarks, Professor Bijan Mishra. the member of the GIC, and for the information of all the guests, Justice KG Balakrishnan was supposed to be with us throughout the show, but unfortunately his flight has been on time, and though despite that he was there on the show just to say hello to all of our guests. We'll be joined with more people as we move along. Professor Vijen Mishra, you have been a crusader for the consumer affairs issues. Consumer affairs and insurance are inextricably linked issues. Road to 2047 series is basically, kind of a continuing activity that we started with Amrit Mahotsav 3 years back to discuss the 75 years major events of the country. And we completed 200 e-summits in that period. Now we are in the process of taking this forward as the issues to be dealt with in a much more constructive and, kind of in a manner that we can reach a situation wherein we become one of the topmost nations in the country, in the world, by the year 2047. That is when we spend or when we celebrate the 100th year of independence. Professor Vijen Mishra, insurance has been in the news for all the wrong reasons recently, but we can never forget the importance and significance of insurance. Especially lockdown and COVID has taught us that life and insurance are, two sides of the same coin. So, Dr. Vijen Mishra, over to you, opening remarks.
So thank you, Amit ji. Thank you very much. I am very happy to meet all my friends who are today present here. Good afternoon to all of you. I feel very happy to be here to learn from each one of you. My opening remarks is only this, that as a person who is working closely with the government to make policies and regulations in the interest of the policyholders, and of course, to make the industry grow, my 1-point program is insurance has to be for all. And there are certain products which needs to be done in a mandatory manner. Like, for example, we do for vehicles on the road. Similarly, we must have insurance for children, for babies, for mothers, in terms of making it mandatory that each family should be able to be covered either through the public domain, like the taxpayers' money, or through their own out-of-pocket expenses. Insurance has to be conveyed to the citizens that it is more like an investment than an expenditure, which we always say. And we always need to make that people understand that in a simple, easy to understand language. Now, how to make insurance most affordable and accessible? I have a simple kind of a tagline where I always say, Sankhya badhao, or Sankhya badhao or premium ghatao. Sankhya badhao or
Very
premium
good.
ghatao. जब तक हम लोग संख्या नहीं बढ़ाएंगे, तब तक हम लोग प्रीमियम नहीं घटा सकते हैं, अफोर्डेबल नहीं कर सकते हैं, एक्सेसिबल नहीं कर सकते हैं. और संख्या तब बढ़ेगा जब आम आदमी इस पे भरोसा करने लगेंगे. और इसीलिए हम लोग बहुत जल्दी एक टूल बना रहे हैं रेगुलेटर के थ्रू से, जिसको हम लोग कह रहे हैं बीमा भरोसा. हम लोग को बीमा में भरोसा लाना होगा, और भरोसा इसलिए क्योंकि हम लोगों को ये लोगों को समझाना होगा कि आप जब संकट में पहुंचेंगे, जब कभी भी आपका रिस्क जो आप कवर किए हो अपने मेहनत के पैसे से, या सरकार ने आपको कवर किया है टैक्स पेयर के पैसे से, तो आपको वो राहत तुरंत और सही ढंग से मिलनी चाहिए, आसानी से मिलनी चाहिए, ताकि लोगों को पिलर टू पोस्ट दौड़ना ना पड़े. So with that a motive in mind, we are trying to bring in reforms in the existing laws. We are trying to bring in reforms in the existing processes. We are trying to bring in reforms in the delivery system. The whole idea is how to bring a smile on the face of the policy holders. And if we bring that smile on the face of the policy holders, then it's a win-win for all. In my view, then the insuring, the regulated entity, that is the insurers, they get more revenue, more money to do business with. We get intermediaries who are always being focused and has been our link, whether it's an agent, whether it's a portal, whether it is technology provider, whether it is a broker. They all play a role in bringing the insurer and the policy holders together and bring that link which builds that trust which builds that credibility, which builds that relationship between the insurance company and the policy holders. So the small point which I'm making is there is a huge opportunity in India, because as we all know, India is quite behind in terms of insurance penetration if you compare with other countries of the world. But as it is predicted that we are going to become the 6th largest, country in terms of insurance, and what I am aiming at is why not the largest? Why the 6th? And work towards that. And as it has been promised that by Amrit Kal, that is 2047, every citizen will have an insurance cover, at least on health, because we are working towards universal health coverage, which has been the prime mission of this present Modi government, to ensure that every citizen gets covered as far as health is concerned, and they don't get into debt, or they don't get into selling their assets to access healthcare. So insurance is the only kind of a instrument or a tool which can take us to that place where people are not made to go below the poverty line, which is happening today because of high cost of healthcare and inaccessibility of health coverage. So I would like to rest here now and hear the other my panelists, and then of course I would like to intervene as and when you all will allow me. So Amit ji, this has been my main opening remark, that as a policy holder, I must feel that I have full trust in the insurance company, and I feel happy that I get products which I needed the most for myself, and I'm able to access it in a manner which is affordable.
Okay,
so
okay.
I would like
Professor
to
Mishra,
stop.
thank you so much for your opening remarks. This had to be an opening remark, but it's been a it set the tone for the entire discussion going forward. Girija Subramaniam is on board as a CMD of Agricultural Insurance Corporation of India. Justice KG Balakrishnan had wished Madam a very, he has wished us all good insurance life going forward. And India is a country which is totally underserved from the insurance sector. Awareness creation, Bima Bemisal is the tagline which is used by the IADAI for the 28th of June, which is the India Insurance Awareness Day. Now we also have Professor Vijan Mishra, who is a member of the GIC with us. We've been joined with few other dignitaries from the insurance sector. Mr. Vimal Vaklu is there with us, who is the former CMD of TCIL. Madam Girija Subramaniam, please switch on the mic and the camera and your opening remarks on the subject.
Yeah, actually, insurance awareness is good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for inviting me here. And I think insurance awareness is a point of concern for everyone in the nation, and current regulator is taking all efforts to see that there's so much dynamism around making insurance awareness a real point of concern, and taking it across to all stakeholders so that we try to reach as much penetration as we can. And together we try to achieve the goal, the ultimate goal of insurance for all by 2047. It's a great initiative. And not only in health, I think in all sectors, insurance awareness is absolutely low, and which is indicated by the low penetration levels that we have now. But then the kind of impetus that is being shown, I think there's a lot of promise in this sector, and a lot of people have started working here. There's so much of change in the last 1 year itself in insurance, that I think there is very soon, I think it's going to be a much earlier than 2047 that we should be able to achieve this dream of our Prime Minister for insurance of all for all by 2047. Including in the agriculture space, there is so much of innovation, so much of startups and technology driven bodies that have entered this sector, that it is now going to be much more easier to try reach all the farmers that need coverage under our insurance schemes. So I think insurance awareness is creating a day for it is a great idea in this entire process. Thank you.
Madam, this is a long discussion we can carry on, but then I just remember just a few days back, a week back, in the monologue series also that Vision India has been driving, former Additional Secretary, Labour, Government of India, speaking about the plight of the agriculture farmers especially when it came to the situation wherein they had to face the brunt of the lockdown the most, because
Yeah.
most of the unorganized workers are in the agriculture space. Your views on the subject and how more important it is for the farmer community, the agriculture community to be well insured. And that is something which the PM has to take note of, if not already done, as soon as possible.
Yes, I think the PMFBY scheme is getting a real good revamp with the operational guidelines being revamped in a way that, we get more inclusiveness into the scheme for farmers across all states. The state governments need to really, also put in their best. They need to get up to this idea of insurance. I think awareness is not, fully there even in the state government side, and where I think even in the official levels, they look at insurance more as a guarantee than as a,
What is the NABARD doing? I may ask you, I mean, what is NABARD's role? It's your kind of government concern. NABARD is the main lending agency, and lenders have been, selling cross-selling insurance quite frequently nowadays.
Yes, but that, I mean, you need to, leverage their distribution and, include them as corporate agents to sell your products as of now. In the scheme, basically, it's the banks and the cooperative banks are involved at the lower level to reach the farmers. So those things are already there, but basically the operational guidelines of the scheme have been revamped, and that possibly could bring in more inclusiveness in the next year. The current tender cycle, many states that were earlier not there in the scheme, most probably would get into the scheme, and that would bring in better reach to farmers across the country.
We have a few insurers, people from the insurance sector, apart from you as well. Rajat Bajaj, your views on the opening remarks and views.
Yes, sir, and good afternoon, everyone. I think the tone is already set by the fellow speakers, and it is the focus on insurance and need for insurance is already outlined. On behalf of Tata AIA, I want to put focus more on the coverage and the sum assured, and not only on the number of insurance people covered in the insurance, because in India we face a situation where people are insured, but they are massively underinsured. And in terms of the GDP to coverage ratio, India is far more behind, and sometimes even worse than the developing economies. We need to really catch up out there. Most of the people in India, those are insured, are relatively underinsured. Significant steps need to be taken to ensure that the insurance penetration in terms of number of people as well as sum assured is increased over a period of time. Tata AIA definitely supports every initiative of the government to ensure protection for all by 2047. Insurance for all for 2047, and we support this forum wherein the objective and the idea is to achieve the same before the targeted 2047 year.
Rajat, I may take this opportunity to even ask you, I mean, what are the expectations from the government, because it's been running a plethora of social schemes. From the insurance perspective, the government has opened up the sector quite considerably for the last decade or so. And so much so that today people are questioning the kind of leverage that has been given to the insurance sector, the kind of room space that the insurance sector has been given by the government, and is quite unfettered, and something which is being questioned by the stakeholders, especially from the consumer interest perspective. So what else from the government's support perspective is expected from a private sector company like Tata AIG, Tata AIA, your views on the subject?
Yeah, so I'll answer in two parts. One, let me clarify on the customer perspective. I don't know which insurance companies you're talking about, but let me clarify. The top life insurance companies, at least Tata AIA and rest of the 5 that we compete with, they have very high claim settlement ratio. The claim settlement ratio of top insurance companies are in the range of 98 to 99%. Including Tata AIA claim settlement ratio of 99% claim settlement this year. And by the way, the customer complaints to number of people that we have, it is far more lower than other financial products. We are offering Tata AIA funds that we invest in are 5-star rated mutual funds 5-star rated funds, and their returns are phenomenal. So I might not be in a position to speak on behalf of the insurance companies that you are referring to.
Got it. You are settling the claim fantastically. We've also been joined by Mr. Krishna Shankar.
Sorry, you did not allow me to lay down the expectation that
sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, in terms of expectations from the government, I think the government and the regulator is already taking phenomenal steps, and they are moving from the rule-based regime to principle-based regime. A lot of new regulations are already coming up and have come, which is going to help the insurance penetration in a big way. Freedom is there. However, there is new bill on the insurance, which is there in the parliament. I think that provides for composite license and a lot of freedom for the life insurance and general insurance player to venture into new and innovative products. It is sincerely requested that government should take up that bill as is and approve it ASAP. Besides, in the last year in the budget, we noted that the exemption limit for the insurance wherein the investment in the insurance product is more than 5 years has been withdrawn. I think it is going to impact the life insurance. We want to request the government once again to consider to increase that limit from 5 lakh to 10 lakh. These are the two requests I have on behalf of Tata AIA.
Okay, wonderful.
If I can just add in here, this is Girish Kalra also from Tata AIA.
Girish, you step in when I request you. Krishna Shankar Shiva Prasad represents Star Health, also joined us. We had a little kind of a prelude that's been shared with us on the expectations also from the insurance industry. Star Health is a very, very important name in the segment. Krishna Shankar, your views on expectations from the government, and specifically with respect to Star Health, what are your claim settlement ratios, and how well are you placed with respect to the market's expectations?
Well, I think first of all, thanks for the opportunity. The government has been doing a tremendous job to facilitate insurance penetrations, and our claim settlement ratios are almost around 90%. So the expectations from Star Health, we have been requesting the government that GST on health insurance policies should be brought down to 5%. This will definitely have an effect on reducing the premiums, and this will also facilitate more purchasing powers. So that is one of the requests we have been requesting the government to reduce the GST. And the tax brackets, for example, the exemptions when you take health insurance in the new tax bracket, there is no, you cannot avail of those exemptions, especially if you take health insurance. So that exemptions, just like our standard deductions, should be brought again for the new tax regime. And the other thing which we have been always requesting the government is, at present all insurance companies are regulated by the regulator, but we don't have an effective regulatory mechanisms for the hospitals. So government can work towards regulations of the cost, regulations of standard treatment protocols. For example, AIIMS ICMR postulated excellent guidelines for COVID. We have excellent guidelines for National Vector Control Board. Control Program has given guidelines for management of dengue, where you should admit, where you should not admit. Similarly, for common diseases, I think government should step in with common treatment protocols and also help in regulations of hospitals, for especially with regard to pricing and tariff structure, because at present the need of the hour is standardization of costs. I think where the government needs to play a very proactive role in ensuring that, and this will create lots of goodwill between the insurance companies and the regulator if the government steps in.
Okay, thank you, Krishna Shankar. We've got also Mr. Girish Kala, Dr. Anamika Vadhera and Girish Kala with us. Dr. Vadhera, Girish, please excuse me. Dr. Anamika Vadhera, please your opening remarks and views.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me for this very important and informative webinars. Well, I feel like since I'm coming from consumer organization background, so I feel that there is a huge opportunity where we can focus on consumer in a way, that there should be a system, whole gamut of system where the policy holders would be given an importance and the claim settlement is there, and there is a need of a grievance, the gamut system which has a grievance this thing. So I think we can focus on that, and that is going to serve a lot of purpose. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Okay, now we go to another gentleman who's been waiting for quite a long time, Mr. Girish Karla. You also had a point. Girish, could you take us through your opening remarks fast, please?
Yeah, sure. And good afternoon, everyone. I also am from Tata AI. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here. In addition to what Rajat spoke about, I just had one point from the insurance awareness perspective, that while at an industry level, we are making attempts, the regulators sort of also pushing the industry to make attempts towards increasing awareness. It would help if the state level governments come in formally to sort of support this initiative so that overall the objective is met.
Done. Okay, now Vimal Vakluji. Vakluji, our old horse, and somebody who is an avid speaker and a fantastic knowledge resource from subjects varied, right from Manusmriti to PSU management. Vakluji, somebody who's handled PSUs, from very close quarters and knows the entire functioning of the government as far as handling the CPSCs is concerned. Vakluji, these CPSCs, these PSUs have a huge asset. What do you suggest should be, or what has been your experience from an insurance perspective? I know it's been quite some years that you were the CMD, but despite that, what's been your experience from the insurance perspective as far as the PSU is concerned?
Well, Amit, before I talk about that, I want to sort of thank Professor Mishra for his remarks that it's a game of numbers. And once that is achieved, premiums will go low. As a consumer, this is the most important thing. And we have seen how through the telecom industry also, how the numbers have played a big role in that, in bringing telecom tariffs from 15 rupees to minute to about maybe practically free today. I mean, it's a few paisa. So I fully agree with his views, and that is the way forward. Now, coming to the PSU part, it's not only PSU as a business on the whole. There is a big challenge for any enterprise when you enter the international markets. One is, of course, apart from the commercial risk, the political risks. There have been cases when you undertake a project in an international market in some underdeveloped country, and suddenly there is a change of government, they scrap your project. So you're left high and dry, or maybe they'll ask you to stop suddenly because there has been a change of government. That can happen in a relatively advanced state also. So government, of course, had come up with a very good scheme through Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India. So that really helped in the process of mitigating the risks involved in sort of undertaking projects in overseas business. I mean, particularly the political risks, because they are many. And that is how it encouraged many MSMEs sector people also to have the appetite for taking risks for undertaking projects abroad. And besides this, there is another factor which is very important, and that's the currency hedging. I mean, normally while you undertake a project abroad, so far still the dominating currency is the dollars, and suddenly when the rates change, your project can go for a toss. So under such conditions also, if you have already sort of done the hedging, which is also like insurance, then you ensure that your business is safe. This is what I wanted to mention as a part of the opening remarks. Thank you.
Going back, we've been joined by Dr. S. Prakash, one of the founder, members of the Star Health Insurance also. He's, I think, in London. Now, going back to Professor Bejan Mishra. Bejanda, what I hear from these private sector company representatives is that all is, hunky-dory, everything is fine under the sun. Now, what are your views as somebody who is kind of acting as a pseudo ombudsman from a GIC's perspective, what are your views on the subject of, consumer perspective as far as insurance is concerned? Yes, welcome Narendra ji, former CMD of India Overseas Bank. One of our dear friends. Narendra ji, namaskar, namaskar. Justice KG Balakrishnan aapko mile bina chale gaye. Okay, now Professor Bijan Mishra, going over to you.
Amit bhai, I would like to first, comment on Vimal ji's intervention. And as he comes from a very rich public sector background, I always felt that there are only two sectors. There is nothing called public sector and private sector. I always believed there is an efficient sector and an inefficient sector. You see, for me, there are jewels in the public sector undertakings who have given huge dividends to the government. Being a public sector, they have shown excellent results. Like BHEL and many others, even LIC for that matter. And, you would see that there are some jewels in the public sector. And similarly, there are rascals also in the private sector who have always, plundered the economy, cheated the consumers, cheated the country, and vanished from the country, making enormous wealth. So, you see, there is nothing called public and private. What is most important is efficiency in business, physical, transparent, accountable, and gives the best value for money to the consumer. You see, and we have to work towards that. And today, what I can see, the government's intent is very clear that they want to bring very early reforms which will accelerate growth, reforms which will ensure that we are able to grow, we are able to attract demand. You see, the most important thing is, and this is where I want to tell Rajat and my other friends, Girish and others from the private sector, and of course, Krishna Shankar ji also, that the most important aspect you all have to understand that how do you build that trust within the consumer? The regulator might say you're supposed to settle a claim in 30 days. Why can't we work towards settling a claim in 48 hours or 24 hours? And when you do that, promote that. Tell people who are recipients of such prompt, claim settlement to talk about you in public domain. Why do you always wait for people to talk negative in the public domain about the insurance sector? Come out talking about the good things you all did during COVID, the kind of activities you all undertook to ensure that people who were not covered under COVID, you covered them under COVID. And, bring those positiveness in the communication, which is lacking today. I find you all spend never a kind of a quality service from you. You pay crores to an endorser. You bring a movie star to talk about insurance and pay him crores. Why don't you bring a life insurance or a general insurance policy holder who has got settled in terms of his claim in a very speedy manner? Bring them to endorse your product or your brand and speak about the truth and the experience which the people have gone through. You see, when you go through a complaint redressal mechanism, you are actually going through an opportunity to innovate. You are actually getting an opportunity to create a new product or a system which will improve on your existing system. And never look at consumer complaints as criticism. Always look at consumer complaints as suggestions for change, as suggestions for improvement in quality. You see, I find in the insurance sector, this is missing. Somewhere I find people are always prepared to, sweep the dust under the carpet. Why? Why should we allow that? If you are wrong, if you have delayed, if you have not settled on time, if you have not communicated properly to the consumer when you sold the policy, when you did some mis-selling, whether it's the broker who did or the agent you did, but after all, your brand was involved. So why don't you take the opportunity to say sorry and give that consumer that opportunity to say that after you have intervened, you did a wonderful job. You did a wonderful, excellent kind of a experience you provided. And you also promised that it will never happen again. Why can't such communications don't come to the policyholders? This is my only request.
Okay, Bajendra, thank you. We'll keep bringing you on. Narendra ji, former CMD of IOB, is there with us. He's a very, very experienced banker, somebody who knows the tricks of the trade in and out. Narendra ji, bank assurance has been in the news for all the wrong reasons recently. First of all, your views about why insurance is such an under-penetrated sector even now, after even the lockdown period, the pace hasn't picked up really. And what is basically responsible for so much of negative news around the bank assurance and the taxation issue, etc. That will come. We'll go talk about that later. I mean, Narendra ji, your views on the subject.
You have to unmute and come.
Sorry, sir. Thank you, sir. So thank you, Mr. Amit. And I'm very appreciative of your efforts to bring various subjects for discussion in this way with all experts. And I heard both of the other earlier two speakers, they have brought very vital points. As of course, everybody felt the need for insurance, particularly health insurance during the COVID. And that is where without the insurance, quite a lot of people would have to spend if they were hospitalized, and the expense has been very huge. And the government, what they were giving even for the such of the poorer section was very minimal as against the requirement. I understand the insurance industry, what you call cleared around 25,000 crores of such claims during the COVID. For that, no, it is a very big amount. In a way, some of their together would have been around 25,000 crores. To that extent, the insurance industry at that particular moment of time have risen up, and they have for the current that particular requirement, they have responded well. Similarly, there are some natural calamities or certain times various reasons. Now maybe suppose chemical leaking in a factory or various levels. Such things when they come, which affects quite a lot of people, that I understand that in one of the program, in spite of all the more insurance, also now there is a requirement when you are doing to the registration. After that, some people are not even renewing the motor insurance. Now, this becomes that they are still not understood the importance of covering the motor vehicle or similarly other any fixed assets or assets which are vital importance to the for everybody today they depend on that industries as a livelihood. Their entire family as well as their larger section of the employees depend on that. So it is necessary not only the employees insurance, similarly the assets which are there, which are giving a very productive income, that should be their insurance to be taken. And similarly the person who is in charge, he should also take key insurance. Now in such of that industry where the one person is driving, if he is not takes the key insurance, there will be a huge impact on the industry when something happens to him. So now these aspects, when they approach the bank, any financial assistance, then we naturally insist that whatever asset is created out of the public fund, because the bank fund, money funds are public fund, that has to be necessarily to be insurance taken. Otherwise, but still sometimes I found even in the working capital and other where current assets are not being properly valued, and there are under insurance or maybe a few times only over insurance. Over insurance are very less, but under insurance. So that again leads to futuristic problem. But as Amit, you have mentioned that only in the recent days, the health sector and as part of the general insurance, of course, that has started growing. Overall, the penetration in the life insurance has been greater, whereas in the general insurance and health, it has been a poorer. Now, this is primarily due to the fact that everybody treats insurance as an investment, and it has to give an insurance investment return. And rather than insurance is for covering the risk. Now, this only the new generation, young generation, and few of them, they understand that it is ideal that we cover our risk, and we need to take a term insurance, and that will help us when we are really in the later part of the year. So anybody who goes for insurance at the early start of his career, particularly in the job, they will have a better what you call the installment and better coverage. And even when if at all nothing happens, also he gets the money, his long-term compound return on that policy will be better. So there normally, we just wake up at the time when we are suppose we are retiring or even little earlier to that, then that insurance will have a little higher annuity, and you have to pay a very bigger front premium, which will result in not having the your means may not be suffice. And similarly, for certain age above that, there is also problem of you have to have your complete health checkup, and there if there are problems, your premium part will go up. So now coming to the bank assurance, this is a very one tool, because the banks have a large, so much around 150,000 or more than that branches are all over India, and all the banks today, some of them also have equity in the insurance, and it is necessary, and that's why the IRDA has recently allowed them to have three insurance company in each sector, like life, health, as well as in the general. That means around 9 insurance company we can have a tie-up for bank assurance, and you need to train the people, and so that they don't do the mis-selling. And the bank should also have the direct access to the claim payment through linking of their system with the with LIC or GIC or other what do you call insurance players.
Narendra ji, sorry, sir, just a small intervention. Training, responsibility of training, the functional responsibility of training is something which has been in question when it comes to having multiple such kind of tie-ups.
Yeah, what is that? One, banks, before starting such a bank assurance, with the help of these insurance companies, organize such training at all levels, and so that they are fully aware of the what type of policy we are selling. Because here the customer, if it is not fully aware and we sell, as you rightly said, that tomorrow we have a responsibility and accountability for mis-selling, and we may be questioned. So it has to be necessarily that, and if he doesn't know that much, then he should not sell at all. And we need to create a separate set of staff for such cross-selling, because our normal staff will have to focus on our normal banking activity. Just for your information, Amit, when I was there in IOB for 4 years in the LIC policy selling, our bank stood in the number 1 for 4 years in a row in the LIC, for LIC collection. So it is also that the management should take interest, and it is also a source of what you call, one is giving a service to your customers. You are covering them for certain risk in the life or non-life or the health. Other side is to get some fee-based income. So it is necessary that you have to utilize the available people, and a few people have taken a lot of interest and they have stood number 1. And of course, today there is some IRDA guidelines. You cannot more incentivize all that, and you need to be within the limit prescribed by them. So where then naturally you could be taken to certain international.
In your case, if you remember correctly, I do not know, and I would not like to speak on a personal note or from a particular bank's perspective, but there have been question marks raised on the manpower cycling and the entire manpower cycling process, which is being adopted by the insurance sector with along with the intermediaries and the banks and others. When it comes to the GST issues or the over invoicing, fake invoicing, etc.
Yeah, that is the latest issue. That is Amit. That is the latest issue. So all the insurance players have represented to IRDA also. This needs to be got clarified because there are, I think, a few private which players I am not aware. That I also read the paper.
In
that,
the public domain, ICICI, Prudential, Go Digit, and SDFC Bank, along with Policy Bazaar, are there already disclosed in the public
Yes.
domain.
Yeah, that I'm not likely to comment on that. But as you rightly said, it has to be very transparent and it should be within the rule. That's why I told you within the rule only, whatever possible, incentivizing the
Okay.
staff.
Varanasi, please hold on for some time. Please hold on for. I know you are
I
in a
will
hurry
be,
today, but
Amit, I will be moving, but I will be keeping this holding. I have got a program at 5 o'clock.
you please stay put for 10 more minutes. Please stay put for 10 more minutes. Is because I want Girija Subramaniam to come in again. Madam, she is the CMD of Agriculture Insurance Corporation. Lot of huge outcry from the employee associations of the general insurance and the life insurance companies, especially the ones who are representing the public sector ones, the GIPSA, so-called GIPSA ones. Therein they say, and they have been targeting the private players, and they want strict action against the private players, and they want the merger of the four top insurance companies from the government perspective. Your views on the subject, madam, because you also represent the government side.
No, actually, AIC is owned by public sector companies. We are not directly owned by the government, and I think there is a lot of restructuring going on in the PSU companies, general insurance companies, on behalf of the government. And there are, I think, talks they are having with the unions on this matter. And I mean, I'm not privy to any of this, so I cannot comment.
And your views on the subject of this kind of taxation issues that the private companies are being they have been accused of siphoning of huge amount of GST and taxation to the tune of thousands of crores, and the Enforcement Directorate has made it public that these kind of issues will be taken absolutely without any kind of there's not going to be any tolerance for such kind of issues going forward. And the iron hand of Mr. Modi and the IRDA is dealing with this issue in the private sector, but we don't keep hearing about these things from a public sector perspective. Probably your view, and then we'd like to also hear it from Tata AIA because Tata AIG, because they have got representatives here.
No, the agriculture insurance company mainly handles the scheme of the crop insurance, and we don't have much of retail business in terms of motor, health, and other areas where huge commissions are involved. So we basically do not have any inkling about how these commissions are so high and where it is spent, etc. So I'm not the right person to comment on this.
Okay, Girish or Dr. Mr. Rajat Bajaj, any one of you?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think you spoke about certain practices and some public domain information. I thought the agenda for this discussion is the growth and the expectation of the insurance sector. It seems like we are talking about certain issues which are already under the domain of taxation and the respective private insurance companies. You spoke about name of certain peer private insurance companies and some brokers. I am not representing them, so I would not be in a position to comment on what is their belief of their case and how they are contesting it. But I understand. Yeah. I understand the matter is under sub judice, and we have to wait for the procedures to get completed because they have their own rationales and ED has its own understanding. These matters are settled once the orders are pronounced, and I think it is better for me to wait till that time before I may comment on this.
Yes, Rajat and Mr. Girish Kalra, that is the private sector. From a Tata's perspective, I understand. And now Dr. Krishna Shankar Shivaprasad, your views on the question? Krishna, your mic is off, I guess. Your mic is off, Krishna. Krishna's mic is off.
Sir, the voice is breaking, sir. Can you repeat what you said? I'm not able
We're talking about the private sector insurance players being under the ED net, ED scanner recently because of the GST and taxation evasion issues and fake invoicing, etc. I mean, what kind of muck is going around in this space? And do you really think this is something which augurs well for the already, striving sector going forward?
No, sir, we as a player, we always think we have transparency in all levels of accountability, taxation, and it is very essential. The expectation of the government is that when we are handling such huge public funds and premiums, there should be complete transparency, and we are completely in alignment.
Okay, we have got Mr. Girish Kalra also, who is supposedly representing the marketing from the private sector player perspective. Girish, what are the initiatives that can really improve the awareness? Because even the member from the GIC is here with us. What are the sectors that can really improve? What are the activities, initiatives? And there've been also news about phishing and smishing activities happening, from a marketing perspective, because data is gold and data is being questioned, data collection is being questioned as well. So from a branding, marketing perspective, private players, what do you suggest and what are you guys doing right to increase the penetration? And Bima Misal can really become, a kind of a household, like a Mann Ki Baat, going forward.
I think from each one of us, there has been an attempt to increase the insurance awareness through various campaigns. But what I think is the need of the hour is the industry, the regulator, the government come together and sort of run a multi-year campaign across traditional media, across digital media, so that consumers get to one is recall, at the same time also sort of understand the proposition. I want to make one point here that when we talk about life insurance, it's more of a generic thing that we speak about. Life insurance actually has multiple categories to it. Yes, what is most prominent is term insurance, but many people are not even aware that there are categories like savings plan, guaranteed income plans, retirement plans. So it's very important that we go granular and we tell consumers about these different segments. The way we've seen with mutual funds as well, the Mutual Fund Sahi campaign, where they broke it down into saying there are equity funds, there are debt funds, there are balance funds, things like that. In the same way, I think it's very important for the life insurance industry to break it down so that consumers are aware about the different propositions, the solutions that the industry offers, and the clarity is given in terms of how do these products work, how does the whole claim settlement and or maturity process work. So it's very important that all the stakeholders come together and sort of commit to a multi-year campaign where the entire industry contributes, and finally, in that perspective, the consumer will benefit.
What does LIC do right to evoke such confidence in the consumer's mind that private players probably need to learn from, or probably they are deliberately trying to unlearn?
So Amit, I would like to hear Sethi Saab, who comes from the brokers cluster. What do these intermediaries have to say in terms of insurance sectors increasing penetration?
Thank you very much. So I take some of the points which came up in what the other learned speakers were saying. One of the word which came up is key man. And we as insurance broker firm got key man insurance proposal from one of the unicorn, where the person is to be insured for 100 crore rupees because of the requirement of foreign investors. And none of the insurance company, life insurance company in India is ready to handle this one. Only one company has agreed to insure the person for 20 crore rupees, which shows that even after 22 years of opening up of the sector, we are still bound by, or we are being controlled by very conservative persons who are in the underwriting team, who are in the reinsurance teams and all that thing. Let them come out. When we are talking of billions of dollars of these unicorns and all that thing, we should be ready to insure the key man for 100 crore rupees. Second thing is that they are still in the syndrome of employer-employee relationship. We are now so widespread. We need products for affinity groups. We want affinity group like Alumni Association of Delhi University or IIT Madras. That is, they should be insured. RWS should be insured. Locality people should be insured. There should be one policy which should cover a locality which is having 6,000 service personnel working as a servant, maid servant, guard, mali, and all that one, driver. That is, no one is ready to think of those things, which are the opportunities which will result in increase in insurance, in an insurance penetration. We are in that is a country which is proud of the cooperative sector brand like Amul and IFCO. Why no cooperative insurance company has come up in last 23 years? Why we are keeping ourselves as public sector, private sector? Cooperative sector has achieved in this country for which we are proud of. The world is seeing. Amul has set up plants now in USA for milk processing and all that thing. And we are having no such rules or regulations or invitations for cooperative sector to come up, and that is. So now I am very specific to Girija Madam that as I am a co-chairman of BFSI committee of PID Chamber of Commerce, we were the ones who were responsible for promoting crop insurance in this country, where Dr. Ashish Bhutani and the Minister Saab had come and this whole proposal had come up. Our application proposal is pending with you that we want to have one seminar in Raipur in Chhattisgarh on horticulture insurance. The production of horticulture is now much more than crop, but we are still bound with crop, because there are some vested interests in Western UP or Punjab or Haryana or that, where we only talk of wheat and we talk of rice. Why we are not talking of horticulture, which comprises of fruit, vegetables, and floriculture? That is that production is more than that. India can become a rich nation by exporting fresh vegetables to countries like Singapore. Every day we can have flights going to that countries. Those, because if horticulture insurance is taken up, so madam, we look for your association in this event in Raipur, where you have already allocated one of your senior general manager to be with us. And we are thankful to you for that.
Thank you, Seti Saab. This particular proposal, you can take it in person with her. Praveen Sudhakar has joined us. Praveen ji, your camera has to be on, please. Okay, Madam Subramaniam, would you like to comment on Mr. S.K. Sethi's proposal about the horticulture?
No, I would like to tell him that we have already taken it up. We've just got licenses to do horticulture insurance last year in May, June. So we have started, we have products for horticulture, which we are doing on a individual basis, retail basis. As a company, we do sell these products all over the country. And we have started in a small way, and I'm sure we'll grow in the future. So we are addressing farmers' needs for horticulture now.
Thank you.
The expectations from the government, somebody from the private sector can take it up. What are your expectations from the government? Anybody from the private sector, Star, Tata, anyone?
So, as start of the conversation, we spoke about the insurance amendment bill, which is there in the monsoon, which is there in on the table of the parliament. We hope that it is approved in the upcoming session, number one. And I think the regulator is doing phenomenal job and they are bringing new regulations on the principle-based regime. In the expenses of management, product simplification, advertisement simplification, the regulations are already in way. A lot of committees are working with the government, with the IRD as of now, wherein in the sector, the life general councils and the regulator are working together to identify what more changes are required. I think this is a phenomenal space and intent at which regulator is working right now. Our expectation is that the regulatory intent of doing simplification and bringing principle-based regime in the insurance sector at par with the global players should continue. One of my other colleagues also spoke about reducing GST on life insurance and general insurance. We support that initiative. I think these are the few suggestions I have. And besides, I also spoke about increasing the limits of life insurance from 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees. That was another request that we wanted to bring on record, sir.
Krishna Shankar ji, Mr. Krishna
Sir.
Shankar.
Yes, sir, as we emphasized, we have been requesting the government to bring down the GST from 18% to 5%, which will go a long way in reducing. This has been one of the major demands of the health insurance industry. And we also suggested that in the new tax slab, I think the deductions, EDD deductions for which we have taken for health insurance is not there. I think that should be brought so that more and more people will also take health insurance, and it will also give taxation benefits. And we have been emphasizing the need for regulations for the hospitals, because we have a regulator for insurance. We have been asking the government for a regulation for the hospitals, and also pricing. The government does a commendable job by capping the price of implants for heart and knee replacement. And there are various other areas where government can step in and cap the prices. So those are areas government should look in, and also bring in some standardization of cost so that healthcare becomes affordable. And also, while doing this, the insurance premiums also will not rise, because the payout from the insurance industry will be less if there is a standardization of cost.
Okay, Krishna Shankar, I want you to stay with us. I mean, see, you raised 2 points, GST reduction. Are you sure that GST reduction, which is being kind of a, kind of a raging topic that is being raised by the sector with the DFS, do you think something this like will help in reducing the premium and henceforth increase the awareness and the penetration further? Or is it going to be another case in point wherein the anti-profiteering agency or the so-called, the DG Safeguard will again now have more business at hand?
No, sir, the decrease in GST will definitely help in reducing the premiums, especially when the cost is now increasing because of various increased payouts. So when we suppose increase the premium, now with the GST, it becomes more to the customer. So one is such incentivizing the customer is reduction in premiums by reducing the GST, which will in way increase the penetration.
I'm sure you understand. I'm sure you understand a drastic reduction in GST can lead to a huge, kind of issue with respect to anti-profiteering, cropping up like it has happened in many other sectors. But at the same time, you also raised a point about the hospitals. The hospitals being regulated. The hospitals at the same time have a lot of issues with respect to claim settlements. We had AHP as a technical partner, but Dr. Thomas, the president of the AHPI, that is 9,000 Hospitals Association, is just traveling in Kerala, and so he's not able to join us. But then in that case, 5 to 7 more minutes, and then we'll close the show because a lot of guests have to leave. So 5 to 7 more minutes we need from all of you with the closing remarks. Now, hospital regulation, they are crying for the insurance, becoming more supportive in terms of settlements. You are talking about the hospitals submitting claims which are not really very, very trustworthy. At the same time, the HPI has colluded or kind of, collaborated rather with the Institute of Cost Accountants of India for coming up with a fresh, cost kind of analysis for the settlement of claims going forward. You are working primarily into health, a lot of, Star Health. Your views on this particular, cost implication?
No, sir, actually, we have been in discussions with the EHT also for regulation of cost, where the hospital says insurance companies offer low packages where we cannot work. But where we say that when there is an insurance, the bills are always inflated, there is no regulation, because the doctor's fees are open-ended. The doctor's fees, the doctor can charge 50,000 for the surgery, he can charge 1.5 lakhs for the same surgery. Insurance amount is high, and when there is a wide disparity when the patient occupies rooms also. So we have been asking the industry to come with a competitive price, which will be win-win for both the insurance companies and the hospitals. And you saw that the margins, for example, the implants cost, there are lots of implants which are still the pricing has not been regulated by the government. An 80,000 implant has an MRP of 1.5 lakhs, and the hospital says I am charging the MRP. So there is a huge cost difference on the margin which the private hospitals have. So which we are saying that no, it should not be the case, because the more and more insurance companies are going to pay, I think it will benefit the hospital. But beyond, if you stretch, the premiums are going to rise. So that is where I was emphasizing the point that the NPPA capping of 10 and for joint replacement made a huge impact, where the cost of stents were soaring up. The government stepped in and capped. Similarly, there are lots of implants and devices where the government could step in and cap the prices, work on some standardized costs. I think that will be a boon to the customers, and it will also help the hospitals when there is an increased insurance penetration.
Okay, thank you. Wonderfully put up by Krishna Shankar. Madam, your closing remarks, because we'll now go in the last phase now. All of you, 1 minute each for closing remarks, including expectations. Stay put till we close. Madam Subramaniam.
Yeah. Closing remarks are that we should be, we started a news awareness with these kind of programs, which are very, all stakeholders will go a long way in increasing. There on, we will see the penetration levels going up because of this. So very good initiative from Vision India.
Thank you, Madam Praveen Sudhakar. Your views, if you are there with us.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, I would say that some speakers have told about GST. I would request you forum to actually put up to the government, especially for a rural sector. That
Praveen, can you have your camera on, please? Because you just joined. Can you have your camera on, please?
Yeah.
You're from?
Yeah, I'm from AIC, Agricultural Insurance Company.
Okay.
So
Praveen, please carry on.
Yeah, I would request that the GST portion on crop insurance and allied sector of agriculture may be reduced, as the other speakers have been saying, to refer reduction. This will lead to, because the paying capacity of the rural areas are less, so it will help in increasing the penetration to those areas. So I request your forum to take up.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring in Rajesh.
Mr.
Rajesh last, and I think the Tata AIA guys have left. Then we have Mr. SK Sethi. Sethi ji, your views?
See, all the points which are being mentioned, that is, they are have to be taken care of. And I will focus on this of promoting the sale of insurance products in the country, in RWAs, in alumni associations, even in some of the temple committees, followers of certain sect and all that thing. That is where we are seeing that, and there's so much of vote banks are there. Why these banks cannot be also the instrument for increasing insurance penetration? Please consider that.
Okay, thank you so much. We have Vimal Bakluji, because we'll close with Bejan Mishra ji.
Thank you.
Vimal Bakluji, sir, your closing remarks.
Well, we agreed in the beginning that in order to reduce the premiums, the numbers should increase. And also an important factor is all the insurance companies should be commercially viable. They should earn reasonably good profit. For that to happen, the issues which Sri Krishna Shankar raised, they are very relevant. But I want to add to that, there should be a strong regulatory mechanism to limit the unethical practices used by the medical team, which also has an impact on the patients, because they have to wait for hours and maybe some days for the things to get settled, and unnecessarily their bills get inflated. And there are a lot of unethical practices other than inflated fee and the cost of devices that need to be sort of looked into, and the government should have a strong regulatory mechanism ensured for that. Thank you.
Yes, Vimalji, that is, I think, one of the most important things that needs to be taken care of. Regulation strict regulation, deterrence, and punitive action for any defaulter of any kind. Why? When we close the show, I'll speak on that. D. Rajesh, fast, sir.
You have to unmute.
Please unmute, Rajesh. Please unmute.
Adding to what our other participants have told, in the crop insurance of government schemes, the penetration level is by year and year it is on growing path. And as of the latest proposition under Prime Minister's Fasal Bima Yojana and weather-based 40% or more than that. But the focus needs to be, as one of the participants has told, in the horticulture sector, wherein there is a considerable value on the risk to be assumed. And there the participation level needs to be quite, there is a scope for increasing the coverage, and wherein our focus is right now on this horticulture sector, as our CMD madam has rightly pointed out. We are focusing on our this horticulture sector now through our in-house products, and hopefully we will be able to achieve the growth in this sector also, products.
Thank you, Professor Bijan Mishra. Now 2 minutes to you as one of the members of the GIC, sir. Then we close.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Sethi wants to say something. Quickly, come, Mr. Sethi, come.
Sir, just now we had mention came about that is hospital charging, overcharging and all that thing. So it is that all these things have been covered by me in my book, Insurance Fraud Must Be Controlled. And in this book, we have come up with the suggestion where we need the support of all of you, that India needs Insurance Fraud Control Act on the lines of what it is in countries like USA, Canada, Germany, Japan, everywhere. Because Indian Penal Code, which was brought in 1860, is not capable of controlling the frauds of the modern day technology-oriented insurance industry. So we need the support of all of you for this advocacy, policy advocacy. India needs Insurance Fraud Control Act, which I will be
interacting with you. We take your point fully. There is no two opinion about it. Bijan Mishra, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Amit. You see, my closing remark is, firstly, I would like to bring some clarity within the people that in 2010, we brought in a law called Clinical Establishment Act. And that act actually monitors and regulates the healthcare delivery system in the country, which means all the hospitals, nursing homes, they're all covered, including pathological labs, including radiologists. Everybody comes under that act. But unfortunately, 18 states have notified it, but none of the states are implementing it. It is high time we raised our voice that the Clinical Establishment Act should come into force. There is a case going on in the High Court, one of my PILs, where I've asked the court to intervene. And the Delhi government has come out saying they're coming out with their own bill. And we know that in Rajasthan, what happened? They brought their own bill in terms of bringing in regulations in the healthcare delivery system. And the service providers were dead against such laws to be brought into our country. And they made such a ho-Allah that it had to be withdrawn. Now we all have to understand, and my closing remark is, we cannot do knee-jerk reaction. We have to be strategic. We all have to come together. We all have to raise a voice in one way or the other to ensure that the lawmakers understand that they are not only responsible to make laws, but they are equally responsible to implement the laws, which is not happening. So what my request to everybody, all the insurance companies, the intermediaries, advocacy like India Vision and everybody to lead a kind of a voice in the interest of the policyholders and the industry to ensure that wherever there is a need to strengthen the existing laws, we need to strengthen that, number one. Number two, To run a government, you need taxes. Now, everybody, if they start demanding that we need to decrease the, taxation, then where will the government run from? See, what we have to understand is we have to be competitive. We have to make sure that all the services are affordable and competitive and cost effective. And of course, taxation automatically will decrease if the pricing of the product or the service decreases. So what we have to understand, again, I come back to my, tagline and my slogan. संख्या बढ़ाओ, प्रीमियम घटाओ. आपको संख्या बढ़ाना होगा प्रीमियम घटाने के लिए. और मेरा एक ही केवल जो स्लोगन है आज के दिन में, हम लोग को सब एकत्रित होकर काम करना होगा. We cannot work in silos. We all have to work together with one voice. That is my closing remark.
Professor Bijon Mishra, Honorable Member of the General Insurance Council, somebody who would also, kind of guiding the entire ombudsman process. At the end of the day, I must close this show. Thank you all, Jigrija Subramaniam, Tata representatives, people from consumer affairs, sector, Vimal Vakluji, Narendraji, all the friends who joined us, Praveen Sudhakar, Rajesh, SK Sethi ji, is representing and then Star Insurance, the gentleman spoke so fantastically, Kishan Shankar. All said and done, let's not forget India's longest wanted fugitive is Sukumar Kuru. The longest wanted fugitive is Sukumar Kuru, a man charged with murder, by kind of, duping the authorities by murdering a man called Chaco and then claiming his life insurance in 1984. So we should be, very clear in our mind. This is not as easy as we think. This is a very tough situation. It's a very big sector. And this is a very, very vast country. Today, we are number one in terms of population. And the government's job is not easy. So instead of only asking the government to reduce taxes or providing more support from the social scheme perspective or awareness creation, which they are doing or whatever they can do, and there is no end to improvement, the sector, especially the private sector, needs to pull up its socks and then walk the talk in terms of being competitive, transparent, and also being sensitive. That is all I would like to say before we end the show. Thank you so much. 28th June, look forward to meeting all of you in person. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.